Yes, guys, welcome back to another video from Chasing Green Arrows. This is our first video on New Year's Day of 2025. So happy New Year to everyone watching live, our chasers, everyone watching on catch up. From the entire channel at Chasing Green Arrows, we are delighted to be starting the new year in style with a big man backer team selection video. Big man is flying. And he had this really weird diva-ish request. He said, I'm going to do my team selection on New Year's Day, but I don't want to join for the start of the vid. I want Gianni to give me the big build-up. So look, as he's beating me in FPL by some distance this season, it's only right that we give him that build-up. So we'll be seeing Big Man very, very soon. Stay tuned for that with his team. And of course, I'll be chatting with you guys in the interim, starting off with Maliki, who sent a very generous super chat. Thank you very much, Maliki, who's activated his wildcard. We'll do a poll. Is anybody thinking about using their wildcard this week? We'll just say thinking about. So you don't have to say you're absolutely using it. But if it's a hard no, give us a no. If you're thinking about it, or like Maliki, you've activated it, hit the yes. And I'm guessing 10 to 20% might be thinking about it on the yes. But 80% of you surely are thinking it's the long-term play. Maliki, I don't hate it, mate. I might even look at a wildcard draft tomorrow. Who knows? So, guys, thank you all for joining. We're, of course, halfway through the game week. I say halfway. We're halfway in number of days from like start to finish. Well, ish. But we're 9 of 10 games through. We're pretty much there. We got Arsenal, Brentford, and Arsenal have been hit with a bit of a bug, a bit of a virus by the sounds of it. So we could see a couple of surprise not even bench-ins. We could see a few surprise big names left out of that Arsenal 11 from illness tonight. Let's hope it ain't Gabriel. Some of us might get some bench jam. I don't, unfortunately. I've got Lewis Hall on my bench. Lewis Hall, who got a whopping 12 points. But ahead of him on my bench, I've got Mykolenko. Mykolenko got 1. I've also got João Pedro's 9 on my bench. It's fantastic, really. Every single week, without fail, I seem to be getting big bench points. So 2 weeks ago, I had 27. Last week, I had 17. And this week, I've got 22. It's very disappointing because my 11s aren't like pulling up trees. So these are points I need. These are definitely points I need. In the wildcard poll, by the way, get voting yes or no. Are you thinking about using your wildcard this game week? Some of you might be on like Michael for some Rodgers bench jam. That would be, I mean, oh yeah, let us know how you're doing as well. Like 78 points with Ryan and Gabriel to go. Fair play, Danny B. I think my total, we'll speak more about Big Man's team when he joins, but I made 81 with Gabriel to go, which obviously I'm taking. Like that's a good green arrow. Cunha as well, since we last streamed, guys, has been banned. But the good news for Cunha owners, he's only missing one game. So with that in mind, he's missing an EFL Cup game as well, or an FA Cup game. I think it's FA Cup. Only missing one Premier League game. With that in mind, you actually could keep him. The fixtures are horrible, but Cunha's been so good. The fixtures shouldn't matter too much. I'm going to be selling him because I don't have Isak. But if you've already got Isak, you can maybe hold a Cunha. I don't know. Would you hold a Cunha or move to a Jackson? I'm not so sure the way Jackson's been playing. So Nicholas absolutely smashing it. Sold Pedro for Solanke. You bought Solanke. Dominic Decoy. What are you doing? FPL down under 74 with Raya Gabriel to play. I've strengthened my bench before Cameron Bowes to Daniel Munoz. Fair. So, guys, we're going to talk about some forwards. We're going to talk about Chris Wood. We're going to talk about Cunha. We're going to talk about Isak. And, of course, we're going to welcome to the stage the guy that's having a great season, his first stream of 2025, live on Chasing Green Arrows, Mr. Big Man Bakar. Big Man, how you doing, mate?
Hi, Johnny. Hello, welcome.
I thought I'd lost you.
Yeah, there was some lag in the connection. I hope you're doing well. Happy New Year to you and to all the listeners and viewers. How are you doing, bro?
Yeah, man, I'm very well. It's been a good couple of days as I've celebrated New Year's and obviously before that Christmas. So it's been a nice week. It's still weird that we're still in game week 19. Like I don't like that at all. I don't like the whole Arsenal Brentford are going to play for some teams like 3-4 days after the others. It makes it's rubbish scheduling. But yeah, it's what it is. And I'm looking forward to game week 20. I've got 2 free transfers. We're going to talk a little bit about my team, but mainly yours later. And I'm bringing Isak in. I'm selling Cunha. I might even be selling Phil Foden. We'll speak about midfielders because the likes of Eze delivered massively for you, big man. you must be feeling good about Eze, because many went Ismail Assar if they went to a Palace midfielder who clocked all the XGI but didn't actually get any FPL points.
Yeah, I mean, last week was rough because I had Bruno that week and it didn't exactly go according to plan because, with the red card, I ended up with a below par score. It wasn't terrible, but it was a below par score and I got a red arrow. But this week has been like really good. I'm sitting on 81 points and I got very lucky with Eze doing well, Sar blanking, Munoz blanking. I think those two were actually more popular than Eze this week. And to sort of come up on the right side of that, and the Salah versus Palmer swing, because I was, I wouldn't say I was close to captaining Palmer, but it was like a 60-40 consideration for me. And I did sort of contemplate captaining Palmer on, let's say, an hour or two before the deadline. But then I just resorted to Salah because of how well he's been playing, and because I just looked at some of the numbers from the Southampton versus West Ham game, which was the game West Ham had played previously, and West Ham conceded like truckloads of shots in that game, and I was like, if they concede a similar number against Liverpool, then Liverpool are going to score plenty. So I guess I lucked out with that, and the swing was, I think it was very harsh for people who didn't captain Salah. But overall, it went all right. I think the game week was good. Isak, I didn't own him, but him getting a 7-pointer was a bit of a relief because after the first 3 to 4 minutes, I was faring the worst when he scored. Rodgers and João Pedro did really well. So, yeah, I mean, it went all right. I still have like 4 players to go. I'm not expecting much because like I have the Brentford keeper, I have Mpomo, and I have double Arsenal defense. So I'm not expecting anything spectacular, but even if I get like close to like say 12, 13 points, that's going to be all right, I think.
Yeah, man, that's massive. Like to have 4 players still to play is crazy. Many had either Rodgers or João Pedro on their bench. Because you had Bruno, and those that held Bruno, therefore didn't bench João Pedro and Rodgers. So in a way, Bruno actually helped you out because you surely would have benched one of those two, no?
Yeah, I would have benched one of those two. And again, I mean, I was sort of berating myself for not picking Odegaard last week. But I think picking Eze has kind of worked out all right because I've now got money in the bank for future transfers as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm sort of happy with where things stand in FPL. But I think what was really big for me was the Salah versus Palmer swing because I think I could have easily gone the other way.
Wow, yeah.
But
not many did, though, did they? Not many did. I don't know many. I mean, obviously people did, but the vast majority did go Mo Salah, and it does feel like moving forward, the way
that's why it feels like a close. That's exactly why it feels like a close shave because had I gone the other way, I would have been like 15 points adrift of the rest of the pack.
The field,
right?
Yeah.
It was. I mean, for a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people did contemplate the decision as much as I did. So that's why it feels like a bit of a relief.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. We've got nearly 200 people watching, which is awesome. It's New Year's Day. For some of you, it might be a national holiday. For some, it perhaps won't be. If you want to hit that like button and show support for Chasing Green Arrows, we'd love that. But we want to start 2025 in style. We are still short of our 10K subs mark that we've been striving for a while. So if you want to hit that subscribe button and show support for Chasing Green Arrows, many of you watching, I reckon 90% are probably subscribed, but there'll be 20 or so people that aren't. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, do. But likewise, if you want to share Chasing Green Arrows with your friends, tell them to jump on board and start watching us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would absolutely love that as well. So thank you so much, guys. Big man, we're going to see your team in a minute. We're going to see my team. What do you want to talk about first? Where should we kick off?
I think there's plenty of talking points this week. I mean, not more so than the best Cunha replacement, what to do with those who don't have Isak. I guess some people don't still own Trent as well, and they're still sort of, now that we're getting closer to the possible double game week, people want to know a bit more about which Liverpool players to pick. Solanke is another talking point. Raul Jimenez is another one. So I think there's a lot to discuss. I mean, you can start wherever you feel like.
Yeah. Did you bench Raul Jimenez, by the way?
Of course I did. I mean, I didn't expect him to start. He was actually last on my bench. And it was funny when he scored. But yeah, I mean, now that Rodgers is suspended, that was obviously very annoying because he's going to miss the Moneyball fixture, which is going to be the home to Leicester fixture. I think I'll start Raul this week. I really do.
Yeah, he's played his way for sure. I with you didn't think he was going to start, mate. So you had Raul Jimenez last on your bench. How many points did he get?
9.
I had 12 points last on my bench. Any guesses?
Wait, let me guess. 12. Lewis Hall?
Yeah, I had João Pedro second on my bench with 9 and Lewis Hall third on my bench with 12. It's getting ridiculous now. 27, 17, 22 are my last 3 weeks of benchings. It's depressing. But I mean, it's still a good thing.
Is it though? I mean,
I know, yeah.
I think it's a good. I think it's a good thing.
It is a good thing because your players then are doing well and your squad value should be increasing and you're getting the right players in already or move ahead. But it's just frustrating when players in your team blank. Now, when they blank and you were always going to pick them and the guy on your bench you were never going to pick, a bit like Lewis Hall, you're fine with. I was never going to start Lewis Hall this week. I just had better fixtures elsewhere. Did I consider starting, I don't know, Matt Sells when he got his 9-pointer and his 7-pointer? Absolutely. It was a coin toss each week. So it's the ones where you were really close to putting them in and didn't that get me. The ones where you're never going to start them in a month of Sundays, you just take on the chin.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but more often than not, for example, you own Sells, you've gotten most of his points as opposed to, missing out on them. So, yeah. I mean, it is a thin-edged sword, and it can go either way. I sort of get what you're trying to say, but yeah, Lewis Hall, for example, is someone I'm looking to bring in soon in my team. So you're already ahead.
Is he? Yeah. Because there's been a huge bandwagon this season for certain defenders, fullbacks especially. I think back to Aït-Nouri. I think back to a few weeks ago with Anthony Robinson. The new flavour of the month is Daniel Munoz. That's 3 fullbacks that probably 75% of content creators have gone Aït-Nouri, Robinson, Munoz. Like maybe not in that same spot, but they've owned all 3 or they've owned 2 of the 3. I've actually not had any of them all season, which is perhaps been bad play for me, but I have had Lewis Hall. But would you go after a Lewis Hall or a Daniel Munoz now? Because I've got Lewis Hall and I'm obviously keeping him, but I'm looking at Daniel Munoz next week.
Gianni, you're asking the wrong person because I was supposed to ask you this question this week. Actually, not this week, but I'm going to be buying a defender next week. So
yeah, me too.
We'll keep this discussion for next week. Yeah. And it's going to be between Munoz and Hall for sure.
See, I'm going to be buying Munoz, but I own Hall. So yeah, that'll be a good one next week for us.
It's easy for you, right? So it's going to be a tricky one because Palace's fixtures are great. Newcastle is just heading into a great run of fixtures. And that's why it's going to be tricky. And a lot of people will be in the same boat because a lot of people have actually doubled up on the Arsenal defense. And even for people who haven't, they're looking to sell their Arsenal defenders because their fixtures are turning after this week. And it seems like a convenient sort of time to jump off and release some cash, which they might need for the likes of Trent or Isak or other players elsewhere. So, yeah, I mean, that's something I'm considering. But it's going to be really tough. I think it's going to be a coin toss which can go either way. Very similar to what Eze versus Sarr was this week, where both picks were relatively similar, but one ended up outscoring the other. And I think the swing was fairly harsh because the underlying data suggested that both should have scored similarly. I think Ramsdale made a very good save. I saw that in the highlights from Sarr.
Oh, yeah. Sarr's XGI was over 1. Like, Sarr had the numbers. But do you look at that? If we're talking Sarr versus Eze, and there's managers out there still shopping for a Palace midfielder, who do you prefer? Do you still strongly prefer Eze because of it's 0.7 more expensive, but because of the set pieces? Or do you look at it and go, actually, Sarr is X lively and maybe in terms of value, given the fact he's more affordable, do you think would be someone you'd consider, or are you very happy that Eze was the right call?
I think it's a very tricky question to answer. I went with Eze because of the set pieces, because of the fact that he was on corners, etc. The good chance of him doing well on bonus points, and because I wanted to just get a player and forget him in my team for a while. I also thought that there was a chance that Nketiah might get back into the 11 at some point, in which case Eze would have taken pens, which still might be the case. So yeah, I marginally prefer Eze, but whether or not the gap is worth 0.7 million is debatable. I personally did not sort of have any budget constraints in my team because I was actually downgrading Bruno, right? So I could have gone to either, which is why I went with Eze. But I think for a lot of people, if you have budget constraints, then I think Sarr is a equally good pick. I don't think there's a huge difference between either.
What's interesting about Sarr is he's gone from not being first choice to then being first choice but seeing early subs to now playing 90 the last 4 games. Like, he is nailed. And the thing that would have put Sarr owners off perhaps 3, 4, 5 weeks ago would have been, he's starting games, but then Nketiah coming back, and if he has a few bad games, does he lose his place? He looks like he's firmly a key cog in that team. And what's a really interesting formation because he kind of plays quite narrow off Mateta. It's sort of Eze narrow on the left off Mateta and Sarr off Mateta on the right, but then neither of them are wide. We know Eze's never wide, but historically we might see Sarr as a wide forward. Well, he's not. He's galloping down the middle, and the width, of course, comes from Mitchell and Munoz. They're one of the few teams that play with a back.
Gianni, Sarr's been playing that well that before this week, before the Palace fixture, I was actually having a read on the forums, the Palace forums, and their fans wanted Eze dropped from their team because he wasn't playing all that well.
Really?
Yeah, they actually wanted him dropped. Yes, the significant majority of teams, if you look at the pre-match thread before Southampton, they actually wanted Eze dropped.
Well, that's mad.
They wanted, exactly. So, I mean, Sarr is nailed. Sarr is not going to get dropped. But I guess
exactly,
so is nailed as well.
Yeah, is Hughes not on corners? Says Adam. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he has been, but I think Jose's still on some of the set pieces, some of the free kicks.
If you look at the last 6 game weeks, I think Eze has taken 14 or 15, which is the highest among the whole team.
So yeah, there we go. Interesting, by the way, Trent. I noticed some games Trent is on the in-swinging corners, and sometimes he's not. I noticed it was McAllister last time out when Trent gets his huge 15-pointer. It was actually, I think, McAllister was taking the in-swingers. So, yeah, corners are great, but, you know, they're not necessarily the be-all and end-all. Mate, we should speak about Trent because, obviously, forget his speculation outside of Liverpool, the fact it looks like he could be going to Madrid. He's not going to move in January, but does that talk put you off in terms of investing him in an FPL at all or not? You and I both own him, but, you know, for others.
Not necessarily. I mean, when you look at the fixtures, they're still good. He's going to play the double game week. Even if he has to sort of move somewhere at some point, if there are any chances of him getting dropped for the 11, you just drop him at that point. I think with the information available, he's still a very good player to own. If not, I think he's probably the best defender to own at this point, actually. With Arsenal's defenders and their fixtures turning, I think Trent is actually quite easily the best defender to own in the game at this point. So, yeah, I won't let that transfer speculation sort of put me off.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley's injured. There's no other option. Like Gomez can play right back, sure, but Trent is one of their best players. Arne Slot will be disappointed and gutted with what's going on, but Christ, he's going to start him, and Trent's professional enough to still pull up trees and play the way he's playing. So, if anything, you look at Trent's last performance and go, maybe there's a little bit of freedom there because he knows it's like, oh, his last season at Liverpool, whatever. You build the narrative how you want. The football he's playing is incredible, and actually could have had even more. We saw the woodwork hit off a couple of Trent would have been assists. Mate, good question from Zubin in the chat. We spoke about Eze and Sarr, and on that same topic, Zubin, you rightly pointed out, is Gordon a better pick? And maybe that should have been our diversion to Gordon. So we'll go back and we'll go to Gordon now. Eddie asked about Jacob Murphy. We can touch on that, but I think we're both very much in the camp of Gordon over Murphy. But of course, very different price points. And Murphy's played his way in on the right. But big man, what's your take on Gordon? Because there's a lot of midfield sellers out there. Whether you're on I don't know, let's say Odegaard,
Mbomo even.
Burma, yeah. So
I mean, not necessarily this week because he has Southampton, but people will be selling Mbomo soon.
Yep.
I mean, City at home, Liverpool at home in 21 and 22 isn't exactly amazing. So
it's all right for 23, but yeah.
Yeah, there will be sellers. So people are in the market to get him in. I mean, there are some people who can't afford to bench Rodgers this week, and they might be selling Rodgers, for example, right? That's another sort of talking point. Not everyone has 8 playable attackers. So that's another potential player who could be sold. I like Gordon. I don't think he's a bad option. I think 7.4. He's slightly more expensive than Eze. Eze 6.6. Sarr was, I think, 5.5, 5.6, something similar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Eze is Gordon's a bit expensive. That sort of puts me off because you can get Eze and Sarr for cheaper. But I think Gordon will score points consistently as well because he's playing in a team which is scoring a lot of goals. I mean, Newcastle's underlying data is actually really, really strong. So I can't exactly hate the Gordon pick. I think he's a perfectly good replacement.
Yeah, and if we're happy, I know that Isak's, of course, the better option, but if we're happy spending 9.4, 9.2, whatever he is, for the best Newcastle attacker, well, the second best Newcastle attacker is still a couple of million less. So Gordon at 7.4 might seem expensive alongside Eze and Sarr, but in his own right, accessing Newcastle's attack with their second best attacker, we're not questioning Isak price points, so maybe we don't need to question Gordon's. I don't know. I started the season with Gordon and Isak, and I've got neither in my current team. I might have both in my current team in 24 hours' time. We'll talk more
Gianni,
about that.
let's talk about it right now, actually,
Yeah, come
because
on then. Come on then. Well,
okay, so you're selling Foden.
Let me show my team real quick. We're going to spend longer on Bigman's team. This is the Bigman team selection, but you're right.
Gianni, my team is fairly straightforward this week. Let's spend some more time on yours.
Come on then.
Yeah, my team won't take more than 5 minutes.
Right, well, let's have a look at my team. It is coming on screen any second. 300 of you in. Happy New Year's to everyone. Happy New Year's.
Guys, please make sure to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video. It means a lot. We've been creating content on the channel for nearly 2 years now, so any kind of support will be massively appreciated from your side.
Yeah. Love that, guys. We will show my team in a second, and then I'll talk through possible moves. Might have a slight internet connection. Oh, here we go. It's coming in. So yeah, apologies for the grainy image, guys, but you can hopefully see it. I am selling Cunha, and the Cunha spot is Isak, right? I've got 1.3, 1.4 in the bank, but I need another. I don't even know off the top of my head. Let's say I need to find I don't know. I'd say I need to find 1 million, whatever. Where do we go from here? My original plan was João Pedro down to a Stewart at 4.4 and have a dead spot. So that is option one that I'll still consider. The dead spot means when the blank comes around in game week 29, I've got a dead spot, which won't be great because I might not want to use a chip and having dead spots aren't optimal. But I could also argue I don't need to think about bench boost. I'll be wildcarding before a bench boost. Having a dead spot with this squad, knowing I don't have a Greaves or a whoever, I will always have 2 good subs. So that's a way of boosting, getting some money into my squad, not having too many benching dilemmas in attack. Cunha out for Isak, João Pedro out for Stewart. However, the more and more I think about it, I don't think I need Foden in this team. I don't know if Foden's even going to start versus West Ham. He was so poor last time out. I could go Cunha to Isak, Foden down to Eze or Gordon, or Sarr, but probably Gordon. And that gives me about 1 million in the bank for future weeks, which allows me to do stuff like the week after, Rico Lewis to Daniel Munoz. So that's kind of my option 1 and option 2, big man. What do you think of those options and which players do you like?
I think it's an interesting one. I think there are 2 realistic routes that you can take. I think Cunha to Isak is obvious, with irrespective of what you decide. I think in order to release cash, I'm realistically seeing 2 routes. One is a Foden downgrade, like you mentioned, and the other is a Gabriel downgrade. I think that can happen as well because Arsenal's fixtures, as mentioned, are turning, and I think he could be sold.
Yeah, Gabriel to Munoz is an option.
Exactly. Gabriel to Munoz maybe, or Foden to... I would go with Eze, personally. I think this is... I think Eze is just a really good buy from now on in. He's just a very, very good set and forget option. I would realistically consider those 2 transfers. And the good thing about these 2 transfers is that it sort of releases cash later for later moves as well. So let's say if you want to get someone like an Alisson, who I'm very interested in, and I have been for weeks, you can potentially upgrade one of your keepers to him. So it also depends on what you're planning with your third Liverpool, because I also sort of want to discuss this because it's kind of relevant to my own team as well. Do you think in terms of minutes, Gomez was injured? Do you think Konate comes back? And he's also been injured, but he's sort of expected to return soon. I'm not sure whether he's going to come back against Man United, but he's definitely going to be thereabouts for the double. Do you sort of trust him enough to go there?
Yeah, Konate is going to be back first choice when he's back. And he had a really impressive start to the season. I know he wasn't first choice going into game week 1. We saw Kwanzaa taken off at half-time versus Ipswich and Konate came on. But go from game week 2 to, well, pretty much when he got injured in game week 12, he played 90 every week other than, I think, twice. And he was nailed in that team. That was also the stretch where Liverpool really stamped their mark as the best defence in the league. Like, they've been good since Konate's been out, but they've not been keeping clean sheets regularly. Game week 2 to 12, defensively, they were sensational, and that was Konate and Van Dijk. I've got no doubt Konate's first choice, and he is someone I'll consider, even alongside Virgil, as my third Liverpool asset come the double, if Konate's fit, of course. I won't be going Alisson because I've got the best budget keeper in the game. Like, I don't need a goalkeeper. As much as I thought I'd end up having Raya or Alisson at this point of the season, because I didn't think Sales was going to last through tough fixtures. Nottingham Forest have been even better than I thought. So that third Liverpool asset, I don't know. I mean, it could be Gakpo. Who knows? Could even become Arne Slot. Remember, we might want to keep that chip free for assistant manager. I don't think it will be for me because I'll be chasing and I'll want assistant managers that can get the 10 bonus and Slot can't. So Gabriel out does allow me to then move to a Van Dijk or a Konate in a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Gianni, there's no doubt regarding Konate's nailness or his security of starts. I mean, we know he's going to start when he's fit, but do you expect his body to last? That's the issue, right?
Oh, okay. Exactly what sorry, I got
that's the issue, right? Right? You might buy him in game week 23. Turns out he's injured in game week 24 by the time you need him. That's the issue, right? So it's a tricky one. I think if you're not exactly sure on whether or not to buy Konate, you can perhaps do the Foden move this week. Leave Gabriel for now, and maybe sell Gabriel later for Konate if Konate is fit. I think that allows you that extra bit of time to assess Konate, and then you can. I think I would do Foden as a Cunha to Isak. That's what I would do if that is the way you're leaning. I would also consider selling Sells for Alisson because I would because you mentioned that Sells is the best budget keeper in the game. I think we all agree with it, and there's no doubt about it. But Liverpool are likely to double in 24-25. I would just like to mention some of Nottingham's Forest fixtures from that point onwards. Game week 25, Fulham away. Game week 26, Newcastle away. Game week 27, Arsenal at home. Game week 28, Man City at home. Do you see a single clean sheet in those 4 games? I don't think so.
Yeah, but is Fabianski back fit for some of those games? If so, you got a second option.
Do you think Fabianski would be first choice, though? I mean,
it's
tough to say.
Areola had a big fallout with the manager. Like, that's why he was dropped. I don't know. Maybe they've kissed and made up. But the likes of Todibo, Areola, we know there was a bust up there, and that's why they were dropped. So yeah, that'll be one to monitor for sure. But Fabianski,
I'm not even sure the manager will be around by that point because he seems on the verge of getting sacked, right?
Yeah, we see that every week though. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's one to consider for sure. Let me push you on midfielders though, and then BMAC, we're going to get to your super chat, but because we're on topic, let me get to you on that. Foden replacements, you're saying Eze. Are you strong on Eze over Gordon, or is that a close fought contest?
No, I think it's a very close contest, actually. I want to sort of question you because
Gordon, by the way, just putting it out there.
In our previous streams, you were fairly high on Jota. Have you dropped that idea because the minutes are all over the place?
Mate, I think Jota would have started by 90 by now. I said all day long he'll start one of the two, and he didn't. He could still. He's had, I think, 5 cameos now. He's ready to start. He's definitely ready for a 60. There's a simple reason why he's not had that. It's not because they don't want to rush him back. He's been training a month. Like, he's had 5 games. Diaz is playing well as the number 9. And I'm worried that Jota isn't first choice as I thought he was. So let's see, because Gakpo feels nailed on the left. He started 7 of the last 8 in the Premier League. But down the middle for Liverpool, we've got serious like options there. It certainly isn't Darwin, first choice. It's probably Diaz. It could become Jota. I don't think I just want that headache on minutes.
Yeah, I hear you. And I agree with you. I think you can do Gordon in for over Eze. But the only thing that I would sort of consider is whether or not you need that extra 0.8 million down the line, which I suspect you might, Gianni. That's the thing that's sort of bothering me with the Gordon pick, because you might sort of need those funds later.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I didn't mind the dead spot idea. That saves me a ton of money. João Pedro to Stewart. But João Pedro, we've just seen, like, I benched him for his 9-pointer. He's still a good asset, like, and I know that, and I didn't need those 9 points to remind me of that. Like, of course, I know he's a good asset, and he'll be an even better asset when he's playing number 10 again. He's obviously without Welbeck, he's not quite been the João Pedro from the early season. But yeah, what do you
want to
make
hear another
angle?
I was gonna suggest I don't think I like the dead spot one, because I just love the flexibility that you have with the 8 attackers available, and I won't want to sort of waste it, especially considering that you might need your bench by the time that blank comes in game week 29, because almost certainly we won't be wildcarding before that, right? No. So getting a dead spot does not exactly sit right with me, especially when you might have other blankers in your team by then anyway.
Yeah.
I think, Gianni, I think there's another left field option that I can suggest. I'm not sure whether you like it. You probably won't. And I don't think a lot of people in the chat will. But there's a world where you can potentially downgrade, let's say, Gabriel to a Munoz or whatever, maybe an Aston Villa defender this week, get Isak for Cunha, and leave Foden this week for a good fixture against West Ham, and then get Bruno next week for United's good fixtures till 25.
God, I can't go near Bruno.
that's never going to happen.
You had me. Do you know, you had me until the Bruno bit, because I'm with you. Like, keeping Foden for West Ham at home, I actually quite like if you told me Foden was guaranteed to start. But I'm not sure, because De Bruyne is going to start, right? So De Bruyne played well last time out. Like, I'd be, and he's had 6 days off. So that's the problem for me. It's, does Foden start? And we're not going to hear, we don't get team leaks in the same way, and there are 3 o'clock kickoffs. So, yeah.
I think this idea would have been more appealing had Rodgers been available, right?
Yeah, I know.
Rodgers is. I mean, that suspension has come at a very, very annoying time. I mean, this was like an 8 to 10 point haul there for the waiting against Aston Villa, Leicester. Best fixture of the season, just very, very annoying.
If you've got Ollie Watkins, guys, you've had points this week. You're about to get points in Gameweek 20 as well. We'll get to BMAC's question now. Thank you, BMAC, for being so patient. We'll come away from my team and get to BMAC. So my team can come off, and then we'll get to Big Man's team in just a sec. So Timber, Gabs, Munoz, Hall, Robinson. That's some 5 defenders. I would be tempted to bench one of your Arsenal. And I know that sounds crazy, but only probably one of your Arsenal. What do you reckon, Big Man?
I mean, I think it's fairly straightforward in my opinion. I would go with I would bench Munoz and Hall because they have the toughest fixtures.
I would split the difference with Arsenal and go, it's still a tough fixture, Brighton away. I'm going to bench Timber.
I guess it is, but when you look at the clean sheet probability, Arsenal, Fulham are actually ahead of the rest. So I mean, for example, Crystal Palace only have a 14% clean sheet chance. That's basically negligible, right? And same with Newcastle.
Gabriel and Timber, I think, but yeah.
Newcastle's clean sheet percentage is 15%. But when you look at Arsenal's, yes, they have a tough fixture, but it's still 30, which is double that of Crystal Palace and Newcastle. And then when you look at Fulham's obviously is 37%, which is very healthy. So irrespective of the fact that he has double Arsenal defense, I think I would go double Arsenal and I'd have the Fulham defender in as my third.
Yeah, okay, nice. Thank you, BMAC, and thanks to everyone watching. We're going to see Big Man's team now. Big Man, let's get to it. Over 400 of you watching this New Year's. That is wicked. Thank you for starting the New Year's in style. Do make Chasing Green Arrows one of your FPL channels of choice for 2025. We'd love that. Big Man, you are flush. 2.4 million in the bank and 2 frees.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a reasonably good position for my team. The only sort of spot I'm not happy with is the Brentford goalkeeper slot. And I was actually very close to buying Alisson last week, Gianni. But the only reason I didn't was because if there was any injury in my team, I just wanted that extra flexibility, which I now have with the 2 free transfers. I think with the 2.4 million in the bank, I will be doing Solanke to Isak. Almost certainly.
Mate, if you keep your decoy Dominic, come on, you're not going to win.
There's no chance it's happening this week. I think that's why I said that like not much to discuss with my team, because Solanke Isak is one of the easiest transfers I'll make all season. I think I'm going to go with Raul Jimenez this week. I think he'll start, like we mentioned earlier. The fixture is good, and I think he's going to get close to 60-65 minutes, which I'll chance this week. Gabriel, Saliba, Trent is an all-right defense. But I think what's going to be more interesting is to see what I do in the coming weeks as opposed to this week. Because let's say if this was the team with Isak over Solanke and I have 2 free transfers and this was game week 21, then what do I do? I think that's very interesting. And I think there are a lot of different routes that I can take. But I'm glad that this week is one where I can just sort of chill and relax and then sort of come back to my team after the FA Cup and all those fixtures are gone in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. Where are the potential? Who are the players you're looking at? You mentioned a defender earlier, Hall or Munoz. Is that in the Saliba?
I'm looking at, yes. I think after this week, I'll be selling one of the Arsenal defenders. It's going to be Saliba because I prefer Gabriel over him. And yeah, Saliba will go because when you look at Arsenal's fixtures, they're turning. They're not exactly great. Double Arsenal fans is definitely overkill from this point onwards. So Saliba will go for a defender, I feel. Could be Munoz, could be Hall, could be even a cheaper Fulham defender like Anderson or Castan, someone like that.
Yeah.
So Saliba will go. I think that's almost certainly going to happen. I wonder where I spend the second transfer though, because I could maybe get Allison for my keepers, one of my keepers, like him. Or maybe I can sell Mbomo for someone, maybe someone like a Gordon, or maybe back to Bruno. That's something I never say never. It might happen, but yeah,
I looked at your Mbomo there and thought you're going to go Mbomo to Bruno next week. That's what I thought before you said anything.
The thing with that is that it's going to lock me out of the third Liverpool that I want. That's the issue. It's not exactly straightforward, right?
Yeah,
that's the issue. So I might as well go Gordon and might as well get a Allison as my keeper because Bruno is expensive. But again, it sort of depends. If I feel as if Konate is an option, I might do the Bruno transfer. I might leave the keepers and just wing it with the keepers, and I might just leave the Konate move for Gabriel later. So it depends on Konate. So that's why I'm saying it's a very tricky decision. But yeah, I definitely think that Saliba will go irrespective of which route I take. And yeah, I'm hoping that the next 2 weeks will give me some clarity on where to go with my team.
João Pedro and Raul Jimenez, obviously it's 2 budget forwards for your team, which is quite unique. Many would have 2 mid-priced and a budget. They're your 6th, 7th and 8th attackers with Rodgers, right? So are you happy keeping Raul Jimenez and João Pedro? Because most weeks you'll probably be benching one of them. So I guess you're all right with that because you just play the fixtures with Rodgers, Raul Jimenez and João Pedro. Is that a 3 you're looking to stay with, or are you looking for money to maybe boost one of those forwards?
In the short term, I think I'll be fine. If Rodgers is available, I think I can pretty much play a 3-5-2 every week. And I'm definitely happy with João Pedro. João Pedro, I've been saying it for weeks. I'm not considering selling him at all. But Raul Jimenez is obviously a big problem. And yeah, I would rather not have him as opposed to have him. But is he a transfer out when I can bench him most weeks? I don't think so. He's not exactly a must sell, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree with you. I think off the back of his goal as well, which was good, you're getting a start versus probably Ipswich, West Ham, and Leicester. It's 3 good games. 3 good games.
Exactly. That's what I was going to come to. Hypothetically, if you assume that I keep him, and if he does well, let's say against West Ham, and even if I have him benched, I can then potentially start him against Leicester if I feel like he's starting, right? So he's okay to keep. He's not exactly a must-sell in must-sell territory. But this is the problem with him. It seems to be changing every week. Whenever you think that he's grabbed the shirt, Muniz scores a goal, and then you think that Muniz will be first choice. But that's the risk, I guess, that you pay for someone of his price.
If Rodgers had not got the 5th yellow and wasn't suspended, you and I would both be benching João Pedro this week, would we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, initially I had planned to bench Raul again because I didn't think he would play. But now that Raul has performed well, I mean, it would have been João Pedro, yes. But I mean, I don't exactly hate the idea of playing João Pedro either because I do think Brighton will score.
Yeah, I think they probably will as well. The home fixture for Brighton.
I was just mentioning the clean sheet probabilities. Arsenal have a clean sheet probability of 30%. That's very low.
For them, it's really low, isn't it? I mean, when they play the top teams, obviously that you see it, but they're often in a middling fixture. They're often sort of 35 to 40.
Exactly. I mean, you'd expect it to be higher, but 30% for a team like Arsenal, given the context of how good their underlying data, etc., has been, feels low.
Yeah, it's a shame. You don't want to speed up that Saliba transfer out because you think Brighton are going to score because the guys you're going to buy also don't have the clean sheet chances this week. Munoz and Hall, it's not a good entry point for a clean sheet. So I guess if it was, you would actually be open to selling Saliba this week, but don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, because that decision is not exactly clear-cut between the two of them, I can perhaps give myself another week to decide.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Do we need to talk captaincy anymore?
I think this week is as straightforward as it comes. I mean, I would be shocked if Salah didn't perform well against United.
Do we encourage anyone that might want to use triple captaincy on a single game week to back Salah this week?
Not necessarily. I still believe I like the comfort blanket of having a double fixture. I mean, in case there's something goes wrong, it's always nice to have that cushion.
Yeah, yeah. But if you are going down the single route because you've got your chip strategy or you think you got your chip strategy, like is that something? If you're picking a single game week at home to United at the minute, feels like a brilliant option.
It does, but if you're looking for a single game week, Salah will have good fixtures later as well. Like for example, Southampton at home is an option in game week 28 for a lot of people. That feels. I mean, United are terrible, but Southampton is probably the fixture you want to target.
Yeah, okay. Guys, we want to take your questions as well. We did also mention it earlier. Big Man, I was saying earlier before you came on, our target, I don't know what date we put on this, but we want to get to 10K very, very soon. We're at 9,000, I think 160. Is that 9.16K? So yeah, give us your best like and subscribe, Big Man, before we take questions.
Yeah, I mean, I've already asked people to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I mean it's 2025, so please allow me the opportunity, the cost of sort of repeating myself once again. Make sure to do so. It means a lot to us. We are working really, really hard to sort of ensure that we're bringing timely videos, timely content for you every week. So any kind of support would be massively appreciated.
Good stuff. There we go. Thanks, Big Man. I didn't want to repeat myself for the third time, so I threw to you. There we go. Salah's EO prediction, asks Nick Z. Big Man, we're getting to the point in the season where Salah's so highly owned and his captaincy is so heavily backed. And because there's always a good handful of people punting on a triple game week, on a triple captain on a single game week, we're getting close to 200% a lot, aren't we? Like last time out, he was very close to 200. I think the week before that when he played Leicester was as well. Are we going to see him at 180, 190 again?
I think so. I'd be very surprised if it was below that. Salah at my rank this week was 185%. So I would only expect it to rise. So I would be surprised if it's
like that's not even a good. It's an okay away game. You know, West Ham away.
In a week where Palmer had Ipswich, which is one of the standout fixtures of the season, right? So now that Salah smashed it against West Ham, and now that he's just coming on the back of a 16-pointer, I think I would be surprised if it was below 190.
Okay. Hanny, I don't see Hanny around here much. Rank Bruno, Gordon, and Burmo 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go Gordon 1, Bruno 2, and Burmo 3 from 21. If it was from 23, I think Burmo's fixtures are a lot better. But
I think I would go in Burmo 3, and I think it's very close between Bruno and Gordon. I don't think there's a clear standout.
Cunha replacements. We haven't spoken about Chris Wood or Kai Havertz, two other options than the obvious. Obviously, if you don't own Isak, you go there, right? But do we like Havertz?
I don't think so. I think I would rather go Chris Wood for a cheaper price. The next few fixtures, next 3-4 fixtures for Forest are all right. They're not exactly great, but they're good fixtures mostly.
Yeah, okay. Mackham asked about Sanchez. I mean, we've seen Chelsea rotate their team and goalkeepers midweek, even in the Premier League. I expect Sanchez comes back in Mackham. I don't think I would sell him until next week. If you've got loads of free transfers and you feel that you've got that luxury, then Pickford's fine. But honestly, for me, it sells. Or if you want the double game week, you find you go Addison unless you've got the triple up already. One for you, big man.
The next question is, do I start? I think I would start the Brentford goalkeeper because, Brentford's odds are 21% of keeping a clean sheet. Crystal Palace are 14%. So, yeah, I would chance it with the Brentford keeper.
Andrew, I'll tell you about Odegaard tomorrow. Let's wait and see how Arsenal get on.
Apparently, there's a stomach bug in the Arsenal team. And
yeah.
Do you think there might be
news like that, don't we? And it's often true, and I'm sure this is true, but then you get one first 11 player out from that bug and maybe a couple of squad men, and you're like, I don't really care that Zinchenko couldn't make it. You're like, yeah, okay.
Gianni, while we're sort of discussing this game, which way do you sort of see it going? Do you think it's going to be straightforward Arsenal win?
No. I don't know if I do. I certainly don't think it'll be straightforward if they do win. I think it's going to be a really tight game because it's at Brentford. If it wasn't at the G-Tech, I'd expect Arsenal at home. But going to the GSEC, I know Forest just won there, but before that, no one had got any points there, had they? I was certainly bet early on was scoring there. So I can see Brentford scoring. I can see maybe a 1-1 draw or a 2-1 Arsenal win.
Yeah, I think it's really tricky. I don't think it will be a high-scoring game. I think Arsenal will probably win 2-0.
Let's see. We'll find out in a few hours. I'm looking forward to watching that. Foden to Gordon. I've given my thoughts on that. Big man, would you be keeping Foden?
I think it's too expensive, honestly. When the likes of Gordon Eze are cheaper and they allow for so much else in your squad, I think he's a sell.
Yeah, for me, you need Foden outside of the obvious when City are playing well, but when De Bruyne is functioning well, you probably don't want Foden. You want Foden when he's playing number 10 and when he's on set pieces. And when De Bruyne is playing, he's often the number 10, always, and he's often on set pieces. Wood, Jackson or Gakpo? Wow. I mean, Zubin, Jackson's been blanking galore. I still think he's a good pick. I'm happy to own him. I'm not selling him for Wood or Gakpo. If I was on Wildcard and I was buying one of them, it'd probably be Chris Wood. It could be Gakpo, though. I think Gakpo's become a really interesting option. Where would you go there, big man? How do you rank these three?
I think for the price, I still like Chris Wood. But yeah, I think Gakpo is also interesting. I don't think I'd go Jackson at this point. But
no, I wouldn't be buying him. Jackson would be my 3, but I'm still not selling him.
Yeah. James is asking, start Munoz or Jacob Murphy? Jacob Murphy has Spurs away, right? I think I'd probably start Murphy. Got to play Murphy. Can't really bench his attacker against Spurs.
Mate, how do you see that game going, by the way? Let's talk a little bit about Spurs versus Newcastle, because everyone's
it's going to be a basketball game.
If they've not got Isak, they're buying him this week. It's a good ceiling, isn't it?
It is. And I actually think Solanke will do all right as well. It's just that I think Isak will outscore him.
Yeah. God, Newcastle out of nowhere have gone from a team where we own no Newcastle players or perhaps just one, like the rogue Lewis Hall owners like me or some that were early adopters of Isak, to go in, I want the triple up. I want Hall, I want Gordon, I want Isak. There's an argument to say Jacob Murphy is the best budget midfielder in the game. Like, there's good options there.
The scary part is their best fixtures are still to come.
Yeah.
Like they've had they had like middling fixtures in this period where they sort of really performed well. But now they have, Spurs away is a great fixture for their attack. Then Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away, Fulham at home, City away is all right. It's difficult, but then they have Forest at home again. So yeah, the fixtures till 26 are actually fairly encouraging for both attack and defense.
Yep. Robertson to Trent, I don't mind. I don't think it's sidewaysy. I think Trent's that good. Murphy or Sarr. We've spoken about both in today's show, Nabil, so go back and watch. I think we'd probably both veer towards Sarr.
Yeah, agree.
Big man, I'm biased on Forest defence. I'll always say buy them because they're that good. Milenkovic, Aina sells. But the fixtures aren't great, but they haven't been great all season. They still keep clean sheets.
The fixtures are all right. From a defensive point of view, they aren't great. I think they're fixtures where I expect goals to be scored in general. The defense has done all right. Their underlying data is great. But I think when you look at the fixtures, for, let's say, someone like a Crystal Palace or Newcastle or even Fulham, I think those are the 3 teams I would target for defenders. So I don't think the Forest defense is probably one I'd go to if I was buying a defender.
Controversial. I hear you. I get it. Johan Visser. We'll see tonight. He'll probably start and get subbed. Or, I don't know. Visser's an amazing finisher. But Brentford, I'm not in love with their fixtures. We'll move on, Christian, and we'll go to Big Man for the next question.
Zuhair is asking, what was the question again? Aina or Milenkovic? It's an interesting one. That's a very tough one. I think you're sort of clutching at straws here. There's not much between the two. Milenkovic maybe for the goal threat. In set pieces, he's done really well this season.
Yeah. What I'd say is Milenkovic, I think, is top for XG, it's Daniel Munoz out of all defenders, but Milenkovic is second. He's higher than Gabriel. He's a huge goal threat from set pieces. And whilst Aina's been brilliant, I think Milenkovic just edges it for me. And I know Ina's got more points to date. Also, they will often be playing with a back four, not a five. We have seen some back fives, which is good for Ina, but the vast majority of the time it's back four. Would you buy Wood and Murphy for Enzo and Cunha? I don't think I'll be selling Enzo. Eddie, it's been coming. Enzo points have been coming. I don't think I'll be buying him necessarily, but I'd be selling him. He's had really good XGI of late. Off-core's got a question for you, big man.
Can Big Man explain why Bruno had a poor Man United team, possibly playing more CDM? I know this is going to be a controversial take, but simply because of the fixtures. I bought Eze because of the fixture this week when a lot of people were sort of going for Saar, and I believe they were unlucky, yes, but it's all about the fixture. Southampton at home in 21 seems like a very good entry point, especially in a week where Mboma has City at home and then is playing Liverpool at home in 22. So it seems like a good transfer from one to the other. Then United after 21 have Brighton at home, Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home. Again, 3 all-right fixtures, then Spurs away, which is again a great fixture for attack. So I think the fixtures are really, really strong for United, which is what still gives me a hope, which could easily be a false hope, that he can still do well in the weeks to come. And that's actually why I got him in before the red card anyway, because it was actually that spell between 21 and 25 that I was targeting. So yeah, I still think it could be a good option. I mean, I still don't trust the likes of Ahmad or any other United attacker. It's got to be Bruno or no one really from Man United. And that's why I still think that for those fixtures, there are goals to be had, I think.
FPL dream, I can't manage a team. A big man maybe can, but this isn't a question for me. Buy whoever you want. We can't tell you who to buy from no one, and it's on a -4, which so many levels of complexity to that question, depending on the rest of your team and your first.
I just think the answer is simple. You just keep João Pedro. You don't sell him. I just think it's simple.
Assistant manager chip.
Gianni?
It's going to be big, isn't it? I like it because I'm struggling this season. At 1 million rank, I love an assistant manager chip, which is going to come down to a huge amount of luck. It's down to risk appetite. Are you backing the top managers that will get the 6 pointers for the win? Or are you backing the mid to lower level managers who can get the bonus points? And the bonus points come with massive rewards. The same 6 points for the win plus 10. Oh, and you can use them in double game week, so it's more than 3 games, and you can use your transfers on them. Whatever I do on assistant manager chip, it's going to be my priority chip, and it's going to be one I'll probably spend money on, i.e., I'll sacrifice my team to get the right manager. I'll probably spend transfers on, and I'll probably be chasing the 10 bonus, because why not at my rank? If I'm big man, I like Arne Slot in game week 24, 5, and 6 if I'm not going for third Liverpool, because why not?
Gianni, it's also going to be the chip you spend the most time thinking about out of all the chips, because it will require quite a high degree of planning, I feel, because there are a lot of different layers to it. I think I might be tempted to use and go for a lesser manager as well, because that bonus, like you mentioned, is going to be huge. I don't think I'll be using it on Arne Slot. Exactly. I don't think I'll be using it on Arne Slot, by the way.
No. I don't know.
So yeah.
But what I'd say is, you're right. It's going to take the most amount of planning. And then there's going to be content creators out there, that you and me, that go, I'm going to go with this. And it won't be a blanket rule where, it's not like buying a player where you go, I'm going to buy Chris Wood this week. And everyone goes, yeah, it's a great call. I'm going to do the same. The assistant manager chip, it really matters what the rest of your chip strategy is, because it's what other doubles and single game weeks you're targeting for the other chips. So I'm probably going to target a big double game or a double game week or 2, which we might get when others might go, that's a triple captain chip. I've used my triple captain. So yeah, I hope there's not that massive group think of going, this is the week to go this manager, and everyone does the same thing. It won't be like that, because it's going to come with backing your gut. I also would say, when we're looking at the bonus points, look for fit managers that are 5 places below their opposition, of course, to get the bonus, but they've got a good home fixture. I'm going to give you an example of the league table at the moment. Hang on, let me just get it up. It will take me 1 second, and it probably highlights that point. Premier League table. I'm just going to get it up. So, for example, if Bournemouth are 7th, if Spurs are playing Bournemouth, and Spurs are the home team against Bournemouth, that's I'd back Ange Postecoglou's meant to beat Bournemouth. But if that was at the Vitality, I probably wouldn't. So again, looking 5 places below, but then going, who is the home advantage? That's the big thing for me that flips the favourite of that football match quite often to go, actually, the bookies would have Spurs as favourites in that football match, yet they're 5 places behind them. If they're at the Vitality, the bookies would probably have it even.
Completely agree. I think opportunities will arise, Gianni. And if you, let's say hypothetically, if you consider that this chip was available last season, if someone had used it on someone like a Olivier Glasner, when Palace went on a tear and went on that run where they were just scoring goals for fun and winning games of football, that could have made like 60, 70 points worth of difference in the FPL teams had you gotten it right. So there will be a lot of luck involved, a lot of variance involved. I'm not actively thinking about it right now because I still feel as if it's a bit far away to think about it. But yeah, I mean, I am sort of looking forward to the chip in the times to come.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fun. Loads to talk about. We'll be bringing you everything on Chasing Green Arrows with all of our chip strategy, guys, which is why the second half of the season is so important. Thank you so much for your support. Loads of you have hit that subscribe button today. Thank you. Loads of you have hit the like button. Thank you for Maliki. You sent a super chat in and then a couple of others, I think, that did too. We'll be back on Friday at 2 o'clock, so stay tuned for that one. But for now, goodbye from Big Man. Goodbye from me. We've been Chasing Green Arrows.
Take care.
You lot have been the awesome chasers. See you later. Bye-bye.